homicides in Utah.
Legislation is being drafted to close gaps and help victims. Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow has more from Utah's Capitol Hill.
One of the biggest advocates here on Utah's Capitol Hill for more money and legislation to protect victims of domestic violence is the lieutenant governor, who had a tragedy in her own family.
That really brought this issue home for me and helped me realize how impactful this is on people's lives. And so I've taken some very proactive steps to try to mitigate some of the problems that we have in the state.
Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson's cousin Amanda Main died last year in a murder-suicide at a Taylorsville bus stop. It was her ex-husband who killed her, and police say he threatened her family before. They tried to get help. The lieutenant governor is now pushing to improve police and community responses to domestic violence incidents.
What we saw was there are so many holes in the system that violent offenders, people who are perpetually offending and maybe even escalating, get lost in the system. We have silos. Law enforcement doesn't necessarily have the tools that they need to be able to tell in the moment, on the scene, that an offender has repeatedly offended or is escalating and is a greater threat to the victim or to the public.
On Utah's Capitol Hill, lawmakers are planning to address the issue with bills around victim services and better coordination. A bill is in the works that would require every police officer to conduct assessments about the risk of homicide in every domestic violence call. That doesn't happen right now.
Right now, about half of law enforcement agencies conduct those, and the other half don't.
The governor's proposed budget includes a stunning $53 million in funding for domestic violence services. Right now, Utah budget's only $6 million.
Our system in Utah is completely upside down. It's entirely dependent on federal funding. Nonprofit organizations that provide these services are fundraising their tails off to try to get the support that they need to be on the other end of these hotline calls and to try to save lives every day. And it is time that the state really invest in that.
The Utah Domestic Violence Coalition says it's needed. It also comes as the state deals with a shocking murder-suicide in the community of Enoch, where authorities say Michael Haight killed his wife Tasha, his mother-in-law, and 5 children. Tasha Haight recently filed for divorce.
I've had far too many of these days where we hear these stories and we just want to do everything we can to prevent any situation from ever reaching this level of tragedy.
Now, the Utah Domestic Violence Coalition says anyone who wants to see these funding measures and legislative bills passed, call your elected lawmakers and urge their support. The legislative session gets underway starting January 17th. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
With the news of Senator Karen Main's resignation from the legislature.